The Suez Crisis of 1956. Egypt's defiance against empires 1956. Egypt, a newly sovereign nation, dared to challenge the old empires. What followed was a war that would shake the Middle East and signal the fall of colonial power. This is the story of the Suez Crisis, the tripartite aggression, the rise of Gamal Abdel Nasser. After the 1952 Egyptian Revolution, Gamal Abdel Nasser emerged as a charismatic leader, championing Arab nationalism and anti-colonialism. Egypt had formally ended British occupation, but the Suez Canal, the artery of global trade, remained under the control of the Suez Canal Company, dominated by Britain and France. Nasser sought to reclaim Egypt's sovereignty over its own resources. The nationalization of the Suez Canal, July 26, 1956. On July 26, 1956, in a historic speech in Alexandria, Nasser announced the nationalization of the Suez Canal. The crowd erupted with thunderous applause. But in London and Paris, the reaction was one of fury. For Britain and France, Nasser's bold move was an unforgivable insult. The canal was not just an economic asset, it was a symbol of imperial prestige. Behind the scenes, secret plans for retaliation began to unfold. The tripartite conspiracy, Britain, France, and Israel in the shadows. Britain, France, and Israel formed a secret alliance. The plan, known as Protocol of, was straightforward. Israel would invade Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. Britain and France would issue an ultimatum to both sides to cease hostilities. When Egypt refused, Anglo-French forces would intervene militarily under the guise of peacekeeping, seizing control of the canal. It was a calculated act of neo-colonial aggression. The invasion begins. October 29, November 5, 1956. On October 29, 1956, Israeli forces launched Operation Kadesh, swiftly advancing into the Sinai, capturing key positions. Egyptian forces, though outgunned, put up fierce resistance. But the real blow came on October 31st, when British and French aircraft began bombing Egyptian airfields, crippling Egypt's air force. By November 5th, Anglo-French paratroopers had landed in Port Said, aiming to take control of the Suez Canal zone. Egypt's defiance, despite being under heavy bombardment. The Egyptian people and military fought with unrelenting determination. In Port Said, civilians and soldiers alike engaged in brutal street battles against the invading paratroopers. The image of Nasser, standing firm, refusing to back down, became a symbol of Arab resistance. Egypt may have been militarily overwhelmed, but its spirit was unbroken. The global backlash, what Britain and France did not anticipate, was the international outrage. The United States, led by President Eisenhower, was furious. The Soviet Union, amidst the Cold War, threatened military intervention. Nations across Asia, Africa, and the Arab world condemned the aggression. Under immense diplomatic and economic pressure, Britain, France, and Israel were forced into a humiliating withdrawal. By December 23, 1956, the last foreign troops left Egyptian soil. The aftermath. A political victory for Egypt militarily, Egypt suffered heavy losses. But politically, the Suez Crisis was a resounding victory. Nasser emerged as a hero of the Arab world, the man who stood up to empires and survived. The Suez Crisis marked the definitive end of British and French colonial influence in the Middle East. It also signaled the rise of the United States and the Soviet Union as the new global superpowers in the region. It's the legacy of the Suez Crisis. The Suez Crisis reshaped Egypt's destiny. It solidified Nasser's leadership and Arab nationalism. It elevated Egypt's status on the world stage, became a symbol of anti-imperialist struggle for oppressed nations everywhere. The guns of 1956 eventually fell silent, but the echoes of Egypt's defiance reverberated across continents. The Suez Crisis was more than a war. It was a declaration that the age of empires was over, and a new era of national sovereignty had begun. The Suez Crisis. Egypt's stand against colonialism 1956, the year the empire fell.